A very common resource to combat communication issues is by having a separate monitoring agency for inspections and performance. The benefits are pretty evident. They multiply the surveillance activities of the higher offices. They create a redundant communication channel without distortions of going through the different levels. And they create a rival organization with better incentive structures to develop better overall performance of the bureaucracy. There's an inherent conflict of interest between the monitor and the operating bureau. And this usually requires entirely separate personnel structures. The monitors might half-ass developing the control measures if there's an overlap of the personnel, and they might be under that control at some point. So there's a necessary divide, and the imperfect control of the operating bureau means that there's always something embarrassing to uncover. The operating official is incentivized to hide that from the monitoring bureau, so they continue to receive support from the sovereign or support organizationally, and they can often do that with their personal relationships to the monitoring officials, and finding out what mutual benefits can be extracted by colluding. So the sovereign of this setup of both organizations, they have to go to great lengths to ensure that doesn't happen. They can physically or organizationally separate the monitor, introduce rules against fraternization or personnel transfers, or provide very high rewards for detecting inefficiencies or malpractice, or even by outright encouraging hostility between the monitor and the operator. That, however, has to be balanced with ensuring that the monitors have enough technical proficiency and organizational familiarity to effectively monitor the operating bureau. Now, if the monitoring bureau becomes large enough, it exhibits the same growth behaviors as any other bureau, except that its output is control. Their organizational embiggening means becoming more controlling, so the amount of control within a bureaucracy will increase and become much more thorough as time goes on. Downs also describes the most common prominent form of compensating for communication issues, which is having staff positions within the operating bureau. Technical specialists outside of the line operations employed specifically to give advice to top officials. Often these officials are de facto line officers because they're the default expert for a line operation, but the system usually works out fairly well, especially because they don't have to live with the outcomes of that advice being separate from the line operations. But if the staff becomes too large, it starts becoming a bureaucracy itself, and that auto-embiggening aggrandizing pressure begins. This is particularly problematic because staff officers are often personally loyal to the top officials, one of the reasons why they can give unbiased advice. And this is one of the few benefits, according to Downs, of nepotism and cronyism, and he even gives a lukewarm defense of them. There's fewer biases, as the staff can give fearless advice with the added job security of that cronyism, and the top officials can adopt more accurate counter-biases by personally knowing them. There's no mention in Inside Bureaucracy of the effect that this has on motivation among other employees, since promotions are the primary means to motivate good performers, or the inherent inequality of it all. But, that's Tony D for you, I guess.